Hello, Divine Ones. This is Ashley H.A. Williams for FD 1111 Ministries, home of Tarot, Bible, and Alchemy. So we're going to dive into the twos in the tarot. That's sort of like a tongue twister, but okay. So I'm going to cover, this is more so like the intermediate to the advanced level. The beginner's level I covered in written format on the Patreon page, and now eventually we'll share it on the blog. So I'm going to go more so into the higher aspects of these cards and addressing the Kabbalistic understanding of these cards, as well as the biblical and alchemical understanding of these cards. So the twos are associated with the Sephra Hukmah. And I went over Hukmah with the Fool card, as well as with Archangel Rasael, which will be linked down below. This Sephra is the second Sephra Hukmah on the Tree of Life, because of the aces are at the top, and the aces are associated with the top peer, because the aces are such pure essences that they have not actually manifested into the events of life, into the physical realms of life. So there's 4 emanations, and the aces represent the first emanation. The twos are the first time that you see each of the suits that are actually going to show themselves in life situations. The name of the twos is that of duplication. It's the old meaning of the word fold. Like if you took a piece of paper and folded it in half, it's like a replication or a direct mirror. That is like the polar opposite as well as harmony. The first time that you see the suit reflected back is through the Godhead. All the twos are the cards of harmony, and the twos are the cards of each element in the purest form and highest form. Let's start first with the Two of Wands. The Two of Wands is the Lord of Domination. It has the astrological representation of Mars and Aries. And the gentleman that is standing on this pier, or almost like a castle balcony, represents someone that is standing, or a man standing on top of the world, looking down on the world, to represent world domination. And he's holding a globe in his right hand, and he's holding on to the staff with his left hand. So the staffs for me always represents discipline, one's passion, one's thought process towards their passion and their drive. So he's holding it with his left hand, which is the ego, and he's holding the world with the right hand, which is the intuition. So intuitively he knows that he owns the world, or either the world revolves around him. On the lower aspect of this card, this is an individual that has a false sense of pride and authority, or even dominatory. On a higher level of this card, this is an individual that has peace between the ruler and the ruled. Much like the idea of a teacher and the student. A good teacher is a good student. A good student is a good teacher. It's an individual that has a sense of self-respect and self-control, treating each creature as they would treat themselves. So this card scripturally represents treat thy neighbor as you would treat thyself. Left below the staff, you will see a lily and a rose. So the lily of the valley, as well as the rose, which also represents like the Christos energy. And you have the alchemical marriage within this card. The passionate beginnings of a new relationship that is well-rounded in the sexual energy. With the red top on the gentleman's head, this represents that the energy of an awakened individual, like the Kundalini that has risen. And you will see this echoed in the next card, which is the Two of Cups, which we will get to next. With the higher aspects of this gentleman, that with the alchemical marriage, this is a person that is well balanced within their energy, within their the fire energy. Another thing about the Two of Wands, it represents the 3 temptations. We have the lust of the eyes, materialism, the lust of the body, hedonism, and the pride of life, egoism. The globe represents the authority over temptation. So these 3 temptations comes from the biblical text, in which the adversary took the Christ onto the mountaintop to tempt him. The three temptations stems from, in the biblical text, when the Christ goes to the desert to be completely isolated and alone after he was baptized. So that was another form of initiation. So his second stage of initiation was being completely by himself, to himself within his own mind. And this is when the adversary, the resistance, the opposite or the opposing energies within our minds came to him and tempted him 3 times. The last of those temptations, when he was taken on a mountaintop above the world. So the globe represents the world, but as well, this figure is standing on a mountaintop or on some type of structure looking down over the world. And he was tempted. The adversary says, if you want the world, bow down and submit to me. By having the authority over temptation that the Christ was able to resist. So what this card is saying is like having temptation, having the choice between doing what is right and doing what is wrong, or doing what is the best for you, or doing what is working against yourself. With this card is saying with the globe that you have the authority over any circumstance that may happen in the world. Another thing about this card, this represents like the divine spark. This represents coming down from the Ace of Wands. And when you have the Ace of Wands, which is 1, like the divine spark, and then you have it that splits into 2, which is the duplication. The 2 of Cups, called the Lord of Love. And also being receptive. It is the highest element of water, and it is love and to be receptive of love. Astrologically, this card represents the planet of Venus in the sign of Cancer. Cancer is the most receptive of all of the zodiac signs, and Venus is the love incarnate. On the card, you can see that there are 2 individuals that are equally receptive to receiving love as well as to giving love. This could be a relationship between individuals of the same sex or either individuals of opposite sex. It could also represent the love for oneself and oneself having the perfect balance of love, being able to give and receive, representing the masculine and the feminine energies being balanced, the feminine aspect being animus and the male aspect being anima. In the biblical text, this will represent a couple that is equally yoked, not basing their love and the receptivity of love that is contingent on physical compatibility, but it's based off of a spiritual compatibility that comes down or rains down or manifests down from the spiritual realms. This is echoed here when you have the red lion that is above both of the masculine and the feminine's head. This is the Kundalini energy rising through the sexual energy. This could be the sexual energy in the physical form or either in the spiritual form. And the red lion represents that sexual energy, but not just the sexual energy, but the spiritual connection grounding in the physical. So that's where you get the spiritual compatibility that the biblical text mentions about being equally yoked. Let me re-emphasize that this is not just based off of physical compatibility. A lot of twin flames would have this type of energy with the Kundalini awakens when they feel their divine partner or either they meet their divine partner. If you look here on the right hand side, the feminine side, that she's reaching out. This represents also the feminine energy, not necessarily the sex, being more so of the chaser, and the masculine being more so of the runner or the one that pulls back. Traditionally or energetically, that the feminine should be the one that is receiving while the masculine should be the one that is giving. But what happens is that it eventually levels out and it starts to merge into one. So when you see here the 2 snakes that are going up the spine or up the staff, if you will, this also could be Dionysus, and the Dionysus with the blood of the grape and them taking communion. And the Holy Communion represents, once again, the sexual energy, but that Holy Communion also represents them partaking each other's, for lack of a better word, nectar in the physical, or either in the spiritual realms, partaking of both energies, the sexual energies intertwining. So when that energy awakens, and the staff represents from the base of the spine to the crown of the chakra, that happens within each of the individuals here, or either within one individual, if you're reading this just for one person, that this happens on both the masculine and the feminine side, and the merging of those energies, or it can happen within each of the individuals, that each of them in merging into one spiritual being. And when I say spiritual being, I just mean that they're equally yoked. So they become balanced within their energies, within themselves, and balanced within a relationship. In the reverse, this would more so be like a person that is in the lower levels of codependency, lonely, needy. This could represent a divine partnership that one person is chasing or one person is running. Once again, with the red lion, this also represents the alchemical marriage. This can also represent the Christ consciousness and the collective energy, business relationships, and commerce, trade goods for money, trade time for money, and having a well-balanced, respriotic type of relationship. Moving on to the Two of Swords, the Lord of Peace restored. This shows the woman that is peacefully sitting on a stoop with peaceful waters behind her. Both feet are showing, so she's not hiding anything. Her arms are crossed over her chest with two swords, one in each hand. She has a blindfold. So the blindfold means that she's not looking outward for questions or answers to questions, but she's looking inward. She also has her arms folded over her chest to protect her energy field. And so the energy field comes from the heart. The electromagnetic energy that comes from the heart that permeates out, that she's protecting her energetic field by crossing her arms over her chest. So you have the right arm and the left arm over the chest. This means that she has, with the swords, thoughts, both sides of her brain are equally engaged, equally balanced. And so that's the way how she protects her heart, by being well balanced within her energy. She's sitting peacefully. Her robe is that of a color of almost gray, and that gray represents neutrality. The blindfold, once again, represents not looking outward towards physical answers, but looking inward. Astrologically, this represents the moon in Libra. So with the two swords, the scales, balance, Libra, and the moon, you see the crescent moon on the right-hand side, which represents intuition, but it's a crescent moon. How I was mentioning before with her feet and her feet placement, a lot of times if you look in the tarot, or either in art altogether, especially like older medieval art and beyond, further back, or either moving forward, that you will see that there are placements where you may have one hand showing, one hand not showing, one foot showing, another foot not showing. Same thing with the eyes, or same thing with the profile. This is right now what this is making reference to is that she's being completely open. Both of her feet are shown. Both of her feet are evenly placed out. This means that she is being completely open. She has nothing to hide at all. In the reverse, this could represent someone that is being guarded. This could represent someone that may have something to hide, or they may be hiding something from themselves. They may be almost in a hangman type of energy and not willing to face some type of truth. This may be someone that is unbalanced within relationships and the idea of relationships. These three other cards represent some of the other cards. These three cards also represent the Two of Wands, well, the two's energy. Some of these other cards represent the two energy. We have the High Priestess, the 2 pillars, and I also did a decoding on the pomegranates. We have here the Justice card with the scales, and we have the Judgment card. And I will get into these cards on another video, but these are some of the other cards that carry the same 2 energy, especially in Kabbalah.